there guys, this is me, Malorian, and this is going to be a Guild Ball faction review, or guild review rather. So, I've been trying to support the Guild Ball stuff, you know, of course on my channel I have the War Machine stuff, and I'm also getting some Guild Ball in here too. In my last video where I did my Guild Ball, kind of learning the basics, I had somebody ask that if I could do some guild review, and so I thought, okay, let's give this a try. Again, I'm trying to support this hobby. I wish there was more material out there, but right now there's not very much. There's a good amount from Season 1, but I think as Mark 3 came in, some of those ones now have been redirected to that. So I really want to share and do this, but I need to know you guys like this. So if you are watching this and you are wanting more of this, please let me know down below. And otherwise, let's just get into it. I'm going to do this first one here on my guild, my main one I do, and that's Union. Sure, I play a little bit of Butchers and stuff like that, but clearly Union is my guild that I play the most of, and I like them quite a bit. So in general, what the Union's supposed to be about is they're your general mercenaries guild. They're supposed to be the guys that you can make them work for different units, or different guilds rather, but you can also build your own team as well. Now, I'm going to be getting into some stats on these guys. We'll be talking about each one individually. Just know that all this stuff is free. You can just go to the Guild Ball webpage, and the rules are free, and the cards are free. So all these numbers and things I say, you can just go there right now. In fact, I'll put a link down to where you can find the Union cards and all that stuff. So you can follow along if you want with this, or you can just watch me wave my arms and talk about stuff. But just know that it's all free, and you can just check that stuff out whenever you want. But first of all, our first one here is going to be the main captain. I'm going to go through this. Those will be all the Season 1 models first, then I'll talk about the Season 2, and at the end, if we don't really cover in between, we'll talk about how they can kind of synergize with each other. So, the first captain that came out for the Union is Blackheart. He has movement 5-7, which is decent, plus it's a little bit deceiving because it's actually higher. Attack 6, which is good. Kick 3-6, which is alright. Defense 3+, Armor 2, which is awesome. That's just great. When guys are hitting you on a 3+, and then 2 of those dice are taken away, they lose a lot. So you don't usually get a lot of work done against Blackheart. Otherwise, his influence is 4-6. You know, normal stuff. I'll get into his actual character plays, playbook after, a little bubble to the top, little circles. But his character plays, he has 2 of them. First one is Misdirection. This one costs 4, range 8, and its target enemy model loses 1 influence. This model may immediately allocate 1 influence to a friendly guild model within 4. Now, I find that this one here, I don't really play very much, that Misdirection, because it is a big, huge cost. It costs 4, so it has to be something legit. You could be using it as something where if somebody on the opponent's side is going to really need to have this one focus, or influence rather, to shoot the ball or something, you can use this Misdirection to steal it from them. And I mean, since it costs 4, it also means you're rolling 4 dice to make it go off, so it's pretty easy to do that. But again, if you're able to activate Blackheart before that model, there's a good chance that Blackheart could just go in there and just take them out. So you'd have to be very specific when you need to do this. And as far as the other part where you get to add 1 influence to somebody else, somebody friendly, well, I mean, instead of spending 4, why not just add 1 more to these other guys, right? So I find this one's not very important. Although, if you feel I'm wrong, please tell me down below. His other one here is going to be Commanding Aura. Now, you can either spend 2 influence, or you can also do this from a 2 Guild Ball play, which is his 4th result. And it is a sustained 4-inch aura, and it says, an attack made against an enemy model that is within this aura gains +1 attack and +1 damage to playbook damage results. And this is a great ability to really start getting these things going. Originally, what I used to do is I'd go with Blackheart first, he'd go up there, I'd spend 2 for Commanding Aura, and then other guys would come in and just start destroying the world. Well, what I quickly learned is if you're going to be spending 2 for Commanding Aura, you might as well charge, because a charge is also commanding, or 2 influence rather, and to get 4 successfuls on it, this would be 10 dice. It's probably pretty likely, depending on what you're going up against, but the odds are with you. And then not only is it going to go off, it'll also be momentous, or however you want to call it, and you'll get a momentum as well. So that's probably better to get this off with a charge, but hey, sometimes it's not possible, so you might either just try and roll it to see if you get this, or you might just cast it just to make sure it happens. He does have 16 boxes, which is, all right. Otherwise, his character traits is that he's shadow-like. And this is where I said that 5/7 for his speed is a little bit misleading, because shadow-like says that at the start of this model's activation, it may make a 2-inch dodge. So it's really a 7/9. And it's even better than a 7/9 because this dodge can be used in lots of different ways to get the right angles you want, or you can use it to unengage yourself. Man, shadow-like is amazing, and so he's really fast. Another thing we didn't talk about is that he has a 2-inch melee zone. So yeah, he can go out and touch people very far away. Especially because he also has his legendary play. Now it's called Strike from the Shadows. It's an 8-inch pulse. And what this does is you have two different options here. Either one, you can add +1 defense, or you can immediately make a 2-inch dodge for all the people in that pulse. So friendly guild models within the pulse gain the chosen benefit. And so if you thought that he was fast and dodgy before, try adding in this legendary play. Just sometimes having it so you can add in the +2 inches to him or to somebody else can make the world. If all of a sudden this is enabling it so that Gutter can get where she wants to be, or he can get to where he wants to be, it's amazing. Or it can be a thing where if you charge into somebody and they reaction away or something like that, you can then legendary play right back into them. So it's so handy. Again, for himself, if he goes and using that feat defensively, the legendary play rather, yeah, +1 defense on all your guys within the 8 inches can be amazing. On Blackheart himself, that'll make him a 4/2 and very hard to deal with. Now, when you look at his actual playbook, it is a great playbook. Right off the bat, if you have one successful, you can either do 1 damage or a momentous dodge. If you get 2, it could be doing 1 damage and a double dodge, or 2 damage. And so right there, you see in the very beginning ones that there's lots of damage that can be part of this and lots of dodges. So if you ever get to do a counterattack or something like that, there's a very good chance you can double dodge your way right out of trouble. Later on 3 is a tackle, on 4 is knockdown, and the momentous double gill ball. Then the next ones are awesome. Either 5 successes or 6 will do 3 damage momentously no matter what, but if it's on 5, you can do also a double dodge or a tackle, and if you get all the way there to the last one, to 6, you can also do a momentous 3 knockdown. So awesome, awesome, awesome. It's a little bit weird here. I don't even know why they didn't have this one, where if you look at the 5, it's like momentous 3 double dodge and momentous 3 tackle. But if you get the 6, you can do a momentous 3. I mean, clearly you probably want to do one of those other ones. Normally this should be better, but they do lots of changes, and maybe before that used to be a 4 damage. I don't know, but a little bit different. And you don't always find you get up to those top numbers anyway, but if you do, those are great, great results. Alright, so going on to the next card here is going to be Gutter. And I gotta say that Gutter is probably the MVP of the guild. She is amazing. So she has, again, a melee zone of 2. She's movement 6/8, so pretty fast. She's tack 5, so a little bit lower. Her kick is fine with 3/6. Defense 4, armor 1, influence 2/4, so all that stuff is alright. Her character plays, she has 2 of them. The first one can either do a cost of 1 or do a double gill ball, and this is your chain grab. Now it's a range of only 4, but what it does is that the target enemy model suffers a 4-inch push directly towards this model. So what's awesome with this is that you can get out there and you can pull something in, and you can do this over and over and over again. Now it's only a cost 1, which is awesome because it's cheap, but it also means you're only rolling 1 dice. So I find a lot of times when I need this to go off, I'll need to bonus time it to make it just that little bit better. But yeah, fantastic ability for that extra threat. The next one here is Scything Blow. It's only 1 guild ball. You can't just pay for this normally. And what it does is all models within this model's melee zone suffer 3 damage. And with that 2-inch melee, whoa, she does a lot of damage. And if you have anything else that's adding to this, it's deadly. Now, remember, it's all models, not just enemy models. So you'll also slice up your own friendly guys. So spacing is very critical. But hey, you know, if you can get her into the right spot, this is amazing. Really, I might as well say this now, that to get 1 guild ball, it's on the 4 successes. So if you can stack up to get the extra dice, if you have a really good target, you can sometimes put yourself in that great spot where she can be hitting somebody that's really easy to hit and then just cranking everybody. So even though somebody might be really hard to hit, you'll just automatically hit them with this by triggering it off the easy model. Fantastic, fantastic thing. She has 14 boxes, so that's okay. Her character traits, I should also say that now I might as well tell you who they work for. She works for brewers, butchers, engineers, and fishermen. She has Life Drinker, which is awesome, and what it does is when this model damages 1 or more enemy models with an attack or play, it recovers 1 hit point. And so what I find sometimes that the enemy will come in and they'll attack her, and then when I go and I attack back, she just heals right back up. So she can really take a pounding and then come right back. You know, maybe use a momentum to gain forward that way and then make her attacks with this, and she can fully heal herself up very quickly. Her other one is Anatomical Precision, and this one says that during an attack from this model, enemy models suffer -1 armor. And again, whenever you're ignoring armor, that's amazing. Whenever you're needing to try and get successes, -1 armor is amazing. So for her here, she has, for 1 success, a momentous 1 damage. Okay. For 2, it's just a regular push, which is sometimes okay. A lot of times I see that I just default back to the momentous 1, but it can come up. On 3, you can either tackle or do a momentous 2. On 4, that's the great one, where you're either doing a knockdown or you're doing a momentous gill ball, which is the Scything Blow. And if you get all the way to 5, you can do the chain grab. But again, I don't really find that doing that one really comes up very much. So maybe sometimes it'll be important to go and like charge in and then pull it in to you. So even though you're already in melee with it, you can then pull it in closer to make other things have range. Okay, sure, maybe. But I think you're just better off doing like the momentous 2 damage and then doing the chain after and then just bonus timing it with the momentum. I don't know. It just seems I'd be a little bit better off, but I'm sure it comes in sometimes. But either way, her ability for that super far threat and to be able to kill multiple models at one time, she is a must-have model, I'd say. Alright, next one here will be Decimate. By the way, if you ever do get the starter set, it will be these 3 models. You'll be getting Blackheart, Gutter, and Decimate. And what Decimate is only a 1-inch melee zone. She is a 6'9", so fast. She's tack 6, kick is 3-6, defense 4, armor 1, so same as Gutter, and then influence 2 far as well. So pretty average there, except for her speed being higher and tack 6 being great. She has 2 character plays. The first one is Second Wind. It's a cost 2, range 4. And what this says is target friendly model may make a jog at the end of its activation. This character play may only be used once per turn. So I find there's 2 times you really want to use this. One is when you just really need to go really far. If you have somebody who's grabbing the ball and going up the flank or trying to run away or something like that, you put this on them, they can sprint and then get another jog and they're just gone. So it can be really great for that. The other part of it too is that when you do like kind of like a hit and run type of tactic, so that either where you're pointing this on Decimate or somebody else, probably somebody else, they can go in, do lots of damage, and then they can jog away. And that can be really, really powerful. Because one of the things where it comes to this game where there's a little bit of piece trading, I'll send this in, take that out, then you're going to take me out, and back and forth. Well, if I go in and take you out, and then I ditch, yeah, that's really, really good. Now the next one here is 1,000 Cuts. It's cost 3, or you can do the 2 Guild Balls, but that's on 6 successes, so it's pretty tough to do, and has a 6-inch range. And what it says is target enemy model suffers -2 defense and takes 1 damage. Now this is a great effect. It is very, very awesome, but it's also very expensive. When you think of what it's doing, a lot of times I find that it would be better just for Decimate to walk in and use that 3 influence just to cut things up and get a bunch of damage, get a bunch of momentum. But hey, if something is just too tough, or you're going to really need to do a real combined attack on something, she can cast this spell. Again, since it's cost 3, it's expensive, but I mean, it'll go off more often because you're rolling 3 dice. Yeah, once a target's -2 defense, it's pretty screwed. So, and remember too, that if you ever go and you're already at defense 2+ and you're minus past that, you just get more dice rolling to it. So it's great no matter what. Has 14 boxes, so okay there. She can work for alchemists, butchers, engineers, or masons. And then she also has anatomical precision, which we already talked about, which is the -1 armor. Now, for her playbook, it's just a whole bunch of momentum. 1 success is a 1 momentous damage and a single dodge. On 2, you can either do a double dodge or a momentous 2 damage and a single dodge. On 3, it's a momentous tackle. On 4, it's a momentous double dodge or a double dodge tackle. And again, if you're wondering why those things are the same, remember that you have to be able to do all parts of it and able to do it. So if somebody didn't have the ball, you can't do a momentous double dodge tackle because you can't tackle. So that's why that's there. If you get 5, then you're getting a 3 damage and a single dodge, but that's one now not momentous. And then finally, if you get 6, it's going to be the 2 Guild Balls momentously. Now, what you really see here is a lot of benefit to getting 1 or 2, and then past that, it's not very much. So what I find is great for Decimate is that no matter what the target is, I'm usually just looking for that 1 or 2. Normally, the only reason why I'd be liking to get lots is if I'm going for a wrap. If I'm going up against something that's really easy to hit, maybe I have Commanding Aura up, maybe I have some extra buddies there engaging as well so I get more dice. If I can crank this and loop, and I'm doing a double momentous, doing 4 damage, that's pretty awesome. So, but normally when you see you're rolling this, you're just going to be doing the first or the second result. And I mean, the odds of only doing 1 success is pretty low. So it's pretty much that 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage. And she's just going to rack up a whole bunch of momentum while doing a lot of damage. So Decimate is good. And definitely with that second win ability, a very interesting piece to have in your list. Next one here is going to be Coin. Now, Coin is the mascot from Season 1. He has a 2-inch melee zone, which is awesome. A lot of people don't normally see that in a mascot, and so what I'll do sometimes is use Coin just to go up and engage, because then you get the extra dice. And again, a lot of people just don't really see it coming, and they might try and leave, and they'll take a parting blow. Yeah, it's pretty amazing having that 2-inch there. Otherwise, Coin is a 5/7. So not too bad speed-wise. Tack 2, so that's pretty bad, but it's a mascot, so it's going to be bad. Its kick is 1/4, defense is 4+, armor 1, influence 1/2, so that stuff's okay. Its character plays only has the 1. It's only on a Guild Ball 1, and this is going to be hamstring, so target enemy model suffers -4/-4, so you're really slowing them down, and that's really it. And again, I don't really normally find this coming up. Where it could be is if somebody is about to try and go for a goal and you need to slow them down, then maybe Coin can go in there and hamstring them so they can't really move. But again, since Coin's usually staying back, if Coin can go after them, normally even at -4 move, they can get kind of within range. Yeah, I don't normally find a lot of use from this actual character play, but I'm sure sometimes this will be just brilliant. Plus, keep in mind that if you go and trap somebody by Coin, they're probably just going to kill Coin. So that could be bad as well. But hey, if you're needing to trap somebody, let's say if somebody came in and got a goal and they're planning to run them off later, hey, if Coin comes in and says, well, now you're -4/-4, you say like in the following turn or something, now somebody else can get in there before it gets away. But again, why not just activate that guy first? So whenever I try and think of a way that I'd be using hamstring, it's doesn't really seem to matter. But again, hey, post down below if you found some great things for it. Otherwise, Coin has 10 boxes. Now let's talk about these abilities, these character traits, because the first one is amazing, which is Bag of Coffers. Now, once per turn, a target-friendly non-captain, that's important, guild model within 4 inches gains 1 influence. And that's awesome. And that's not all. That's not all either. The target model may use bonus time once during its activation without spending a momentum. Wow. That is amazing. This is what makes Coin one of, if not the best mascot in the game. Because normally a mascot stays back, provides influence just by being alive, and then does nothing. Coin can not only provide the regular influence just by being alive, but can then give somebody an additional influence, which can bring them above their total, and give them a free bonus time as well. So what I find is a great target for this, because again, remember, it can't be on your captain, is that you do this to somebody like Gutter, and then, like I said, if you want to do that chain grab and use a bonus time, you know what's great for that? When it's free. And then when she wants to start swinging that chain and doing lots of damage, having +1 influence, pretty amazing as well. So, yeah, amazing ability. Otherwise, with the follow-up is the other rule. And what that says that when an enemy model ends an advance that caused it to leave this model's melee zone, this model may immediately make a jog directly towards that model. Now, what this really does for you is a couple of things. First of all, you can live the dream where somebody goes through, doesn't realize you have 2-inch melee, you do a parting blow, and then you follow up to still engage them. If they're trying to get away from Coin, you know, Coin will follow them again. If they're trying to shoot on net and getting around you, you'll be able to go up to them and still make it a little bit more difficult. But again, I don't find this one comes up that often. It's more of a gotcha type thing. But against more experienced players, I don't really find this ever comes up. So that's pretty minor. Now, the actual playbook, there's only 2 of them. On 1 success, you can either tackle the ball, and having a tackle on the first success is pretty good. Plus you have just 1 damage, and then if you ever get 2, it's a momentous guild ball. So I guess the only reason why you just do the hamstring is just because it's momentous, and you just want to get momentum, right? Why really care about 1 damage, and if you have no ball to steal, hey, let's hamstring them and get a momentum. Why not? A big thing to keep in mind here as well is that he can also do Bag of Coffers to himself. So sometimes when I'm there and it's more of a thing where hey, I actually need coin to do something, you can give the coin to yourself, or sometimes you might not give influence to a model because you're really planning on these models doing the work, and then you're like, ooh, I actually need this guy to grab the ball and kick it or pass it. Well, here you go, here's 1 free one. So it's a great thing to have flexibility in your plan and just be able to say, hey, who needs an influence and who needs a free extra dice? It's amazing. So yeah, coin is a definite one to take. Alright, next one up here is going to be Hemlock. And Hemlock is a very important piece to have, and we'll find out why. Only a melee zone of 1, but movement is 6'8", so respectable. Attack 3, so she's not a combat monster. Kick is 3'6", that's good. Hers is going to be a defense 5, armor 0, so going more for dodgy than armor, and then influence being 2-4. She actually has 3 character plays. First one being Blind. It's a cost 1, range 8. Target enemy model suffers -2 attack, -2 kick, and -2 move. This character play can only be used once per turn. I don't find this one comes up, but it's really nice to have. If you know somebody's going to come in and they're going to kick your butt, well, making them -2 attack is amazing, and if you can make it so that the -2 to their movement means they can't even get to you, well, you just saved the day. If somebody's about to kick in the ball and all you can do is get this off onto them, hey, being -2 to your kick could stop them from scoring a goal. So again, in my play, I haven't found that this is something that I'm using all the time, but just knowing that that's an ace up your sleeve is a very nice thing to have. Then she's going to have her 2 AoEs. The first one's going to be Smelling Salts, and this one here will be a cost 2, range 4, AoE 3, and it says friendly models recover 2 hit points, remove any conditions currently on them, and this character play may be used only once per turn. This is great. This is why she's so critical in having in your pairing and your lists, because if you're ever up against a list or a guild that's really all about poison, or really all about knockdown, or really all about bleed, well, what you do is you save her and you just cure that off you. I mean, not only does it heal you, but it gets rid of all conditions. If you have a model that is knocked down and poisoned and bleeding and snared and whatever, you do this and it just all goes away. And remember, this is on AoE 3 that you don't need a center on a model, so you can always shift it over so that it hits multiple models and clears all the conditions and heals them up, and wow, that is just great. The other one is Noxious Blast, also cost 2, range H, AoE 3, and this is more now offensive. All models hit suffer 2 damage and the poison condition. Models entering or ending their activation in the ongoing effect AoE suffer the poison condition. This character play may only be used once per turn. Now, what I usually find with this one here is that, first of all, it can be a nice thing where if your opponent is clumping up, you can, of course, hit them and get a lot of guys poisoned and make a lot of trouble for them. But if you are ever worried that your opponent is going to be doing conditions to you, so you put 2 influence on Hemlock, and it turns out that they don't, so you don't need to do smelling salts, well, that's okay. Instead of doing smelling salts, you just do a Noxious Blast. So you always know that by having 2 on her, she'll have something to do with it. And I mean, the range of the Noxious Blast is great, going out 8 inches. It doesn't even say completely within 8, so you can actually get that out pretty far. And as well, you can use it, because remember, that AoE stays. So if you are trying to block some sort of charge lane or something like that, you just cast it somewhere and it stays there for the rest of the turn, so that, hey, you can say, go on, charge me, you're going to get poisoned. So again, that's not the end of the world, it's not the worst thing to take, but again, it's just another thing you can do with it. Now, she only has 10 boxes, so she's a little bit weak, so you're going to have to watch out for her. Her character traits are that she, first of all, works for alchemists, brewers, fishermen, and hunters. Her first one here is Magical Brew. And this is pretty nice. What it does is once per turn during this model's activation, it can remove any conditions currently on it. And that's great, because sometimes when there's, like, say, an ability that gives bleed to a lot of things, she might want to go and cure or take off the conditions, the bleed, from a group of guys over there, but she wants herself not to be bleeding either. Well, this is just free. If there's ever conditions on her, she just clears it once per turn. So that's awesome. Let's say you're up against hunters, you can always just use her to walk into a snare and just clear it to make it go away. So you can use her in those ways. Her other one is Slippery. So during parting blows that target this model, she gains +1 defense. So that'll make her defense 6+, and that's awesome, right? So if anything ever runs up to engage her and she needs to get away, or what I find as well is that if you want to be using her as a scoring piece, because she is fast, she is a 3/6 in her kick, you know, even if she is engaged, she can usually get away from that, take that parting blow, and be fine. Now, talking about what her playbook is, she has only 3 because she's only attack 3, but on 1 success, that's either 1 damage or a momentous tackle, and having a momentous tackle on 1, that's great. So that's another reason why you might want to get in there and take away that ball and try and shoot something in. So that's a really nice thing that she has there too. On 2 successes, it's a momentous dodge, and on 3, it's a momentous double dodge. So she can really get momentum if you want her to. Again, if you get to the end of the turn and you don't really care about needing to do smelling salts, it doesn't really matter about doing Noxious Blast, you just really need some momentum, hey, send her in there, make some attacks, everything is momentous, and will do great work for you. Now, again, she's not going to be a combat monster, she's only attack 3, her highest damage output is 1, so she really is kind of more of that utility piece of either healing or poisoning or getting the balls to somewhere or whatever, right? But that's going to be her thing. So never think that she's she should not be in your front. She should be back there where your mascot is, right? So you have your front models, and then you have your second line. She's a second line type of character. And another great thing is if you're ever in a tournament where you're having multiple models. Let's say you have, 8 models you can bring, and then you get to pick 6 of them to play in the game. She's a good one to have there just as an option. If you're up against somebody who's going to be big on knockdown or something like that, or conditions, it really great, put her in. If conditions won't be a big thing, okay, you can leave her out. So she's just a great utility piece to have. So continuing on, the next one here is going to be Minks. And Minks is probably one of the least loved characters, models in this guild. She only has a melee zone of 1. She's moved 7-9, so she's really fast. She's TAC 5. Kick is only 2-6. Defense armor is a 4+1, so that's fine. Influence is a 2-2, so you can only give her a max of 2, so a little bit of a cap there. Her character plays are going to be, first of all, marked target. So for this one, it's either a cost of 1 or a guild ball, which is on her 3rd success. Range 8, and what this says is that a friendly model that declares a charge against the effective target enemy model gains +0/+2, because again on a charge you'll be using your sprint move, and this character play can only be used once per turn. This one's okay. It's very situational. It's only going to be when you need to charge something and it's just barely out of range. You cast this, and all of a sudden you can be in range. Of course, for her, where she's pretty fast, you can go and try and cast this to go farther. But the problem with that idea is that it's not going to matter for her because she's so fast that this is actually too far. Her speed normally is 9, and so if the range of this is 8, well, that means you can't target something that's too far for her. So what this would have to be is something where you charge in or get in there, and then you're marking her or the target for somebody else to charge in. So just know that, because when you first see it, it's like, oh, it's a thing to make her faster. No, it's not going to make her faster. It's impossible to make her own self faster, but it can make other guys faster. And I think that's going to be a really big thing about her. Is just trying to increase the threat of other models. Another part here is also Screeching Banshee. Now this one is on 2 guild balls, and it says target enemy model suffers -4/-4 move, so they're not really going anywhere, and they have 2 damage on them. So sure, 2 damage is great, and it really kind of locks them down. So sometimes if you just need to trap something so that something else can get there, or so it can't get away, that could be a nice thing to do. But again, I find sometimes that depending what the situation is, if I'm trying to lock something down, so say like Gutter or Blackheart can get there and finish them off, why not just activate them first? So it really has to be a thing where it's very situational, and it's like going over to the next turn. You don't want them to get too far away from when you activate first in the next turn. Something like that. So it's kind of more of a situational thing there. And that's kind of the thing with both of her character plays. They're both very situational. So she has 12 boxes, so a little bit on the low side, but not too low. She can work for butchers, hunters, masons, or morticians. She has Furious, so this model can charge without spending influence, and that's really the reason why she caps out at 2, because really she's getting 2 free influence anyway, as long as you can pull off that charge. She has Damaged Target, so that when this model declares a charge against a damaged enemy model, it gains +0/+2. So that's awesome. If you're going in and something's already weak, then she's going to be charging 11, and that is for days. So that's awesome. I mean, part of what you sometimes see is in a game, when you start doing takeouts and getting close to takeouts, the models start running away. So what Minks can be is that if you are doing that, Minks can be that piece that follows in there and finishes them off. But there's an issue with that, and we'll get to that soon. The next things here is just follow-up. Same thing as Coin. If they move away, she can follow. So again, it's more of a thing where she's trying to prey on something and then not let it get away. Now, the issue here is when we get to her actual playbook. For 1 success, you can do a Momentous 1. For 2, you can tackle. For 3, either that Mark the Target Guild Ball or a Momentous 2. On 4, there's the 2 Guild Balls, and if you get to the 5, it's a momentous 3 double dodge. Now, what I find is that when I'm trying to use her, and if I'm even trying to use her to hunt something down that's injured, I'll charge in there. Let's say I get the charge, that's going to give her 9 dice. Well, 9 dice trying to still get 5 successes is pretty tough. And so if I'm not getting 5, the best damage I'm going to do is going to be 2. Now, past that, I can only buy 2 more attacks after that, and it really depends, but I mean, I really find that normally I'm just getting the 1 momentous after that, so it's not like she's going in and doing tons of damage. So it has to be very weak for her to go in and actually take this thing out. So that's why I think a lot of people don't like her. That's kind of her role. I've also used her sometimes well in scoring lists. Yes, she is only a 2/6 for her kick, but you can always bonus time it, and she is very fast, so sometimes I'll try and do that. You know, she does have a tackle on a 2, so you can go in there, take something, and then try and shoot it off. Something like that there, but you could use her speed also in that play as well. You know, when people go and they kick the ball to you at the start of the game, she's a very fast model to get in there and grab the ball and get it back to you. So, but overall, it just seems like what she does, she's not super good at it, and so that's why she's usually passed up. I've played her and done okay with her, but she does seem to be one of the less powerful models in the game. And again, I could be wrong. If you love Minks, post it down below. Alright, now talking about great models in the game, our next one here is going to be Mist, who is amazing. Mist is going to have 2-inch melee, because why not? We're a union, we have lots of 2-inch melee. Move is 6'8", so looking good. Attack is only 4, because he's not really a combat guy. Kick is a 3'8", so a little bit farther than normal. Defense 5, armor 0, influence 2/4. Has 2 different character plays. First one is going to be a smoke bomb. So this one will be a cost 1, range 8, AoE 3. Models within this ongoing effect AoE benefit from the cover. This character play can only be used once per turn. So this will be good for a couple reasons. Let's wait for a second. We'll talk about it. Last one is Where'd They Go? Either cost 1 or a single guild ball, which would be 3 successes. And this model may make a 4-inch dodge. This character play can only be used once per turn. So yeah, let's kind of wait again, because there's one more piece of this speed we need to add in. And so she has 12 boxes, so a little bit more on the slow side, or not slow side, on the weaker side. Not super bad. It's not the 10 like Hemlock, but yeah, he only does have only 12 boxes. And I know I said she, but Mist is a he. Mist will work for alchemists, masons, or morticians. Cover of Darkness. If this model starts in advance while benefiting from cover, it gains +2/+2 movement. This is where that smoke bomb can be great. Sure, it's great to give cover to some other model if you need it, but if you can go and give yourself 2 extra inches from doing this, that can be also great. So let's put all these pieces together. By the way, he also has Skilled Within Shadow, which is when this model targets an enemy model that is benefiting from cover with an attack, this model gains +2 attack for the duration of the attack. So normally, if something's in cover, it's -1 attack. So if you're getting +2, that means overall you're getting +1. So Mist does well against things in cover, but again, Mist is not a combat machine, so we can kind of ignore that. But hey, I've finished guys off with Mist before, so why not? Alright, so Mist can go and jog or sprint for 8 inches. If you start that off and do a smoke bomb, then you're getting the +2, so you're actually sprinting 10 inches. You can then go and do your Where'd They Go? So now you're up to 14 inches, and then you can do your kick of 8, and so you have a threat of 22 inches. That's crazy. If you go and you get the ball kicked to you in the beginning, you are close enough so that you can score on the very first turn. So you just load them up and make sure they have enough influence to get it done. And as long as you can get a momentum from passing the ball to Mist, zoom, gets the ball right away. Now, another great thing is that for the plays, on 1 success, it's either 1 damage or a tackle. So a tackle on 1 is amazing. It's not momentous, but you can really easily go in there, tackle the ball, where'd they go away, and shoot again. So you really start seeing with Mist that Mist is going to be dancing, being fast all over the place. So really crazy. You can do things like be in one spot, tackle the ball from somebody with your 2-inch melee, and then where'd they go over here to get unengaged, then sprint up. Yeah, he is great for that. So the only problem is getting a momentum. On 2 successes, it's a momentous dodge, so that's good. On 3, it's a momentous gill ball. On 4, momentous double dodge. But again, you're only TAC 4, so I find that trying to get those higher ones to get the momentum don't really happen, but they can, right? Sometimes you want to charge in. You charge in, you're TAC 8, you're going to get a few successes, get a momentum. Who knows? Maybe you'll wrap. Maybe you'll get a momentum and tackle the ball. And then you can just go and, where'd they go away and kick it in and off you go. So Mist is a very, very powerful scoring piece and one that I believe all Union players should own. Next one up here is going to be Rage. Rage is another very popular model. He has melee 1, he's move 5-7, attack 6, kick is 2-6, defense 4, armor 0. So a little bit on the lower side for defensive wise. Influence is a 1-1, which sounds really bad, but he's very efficient. His character plays are tooled up, so cost of 1, range 4. Target friendly model gains +1 damage to character plays that cause damage and playbook damage results. This character play may only be used once per turn. Great ability, right? Whether it's on himself or somebody else, usually on somebody else, say like Gutter or Blackheart or something like that. Being able to say like, yeah, +1 to all your stuff is great. And remember when we were talking about Blackheart, his commanding aura would be adding 1 to your playbook. Well, now adding it to character plays means that whenever you do something like with Gutter spitting the chain, that'll also be now be doing 4 damage instead of 3. So tooled up, great one to have. Concussion is on 2 gill balls, which is on 5 successes. And this says target enemy model loses 1 influence. Sure, I usually find this never really comes in because Rage does so much damage. It's better off just to kill whatever you're going after. But hey, if somebody's about to score and they need that 1 influence, charge in, get that off, and steal their influence, and now they can't do it. So I guess it is nice to have it, but just know that it doesn't come up very often. Again, he has 17 boxes, so very, very durable. In terms of boxes, he does not have the defense and armor, but has more boxes to make up for it, so that's pretty nice. Then we get into the character traits, and there's quite a few of them, to be fair. First of all, he can work for brewers, butchers, engineers, and morticians. He's a maverick, and this is one that even I screw up lots of times. And what it says, this model cannot be affected by other friendly plays or character traits. Now, what this means is it's good and bad. You know when I was talking about Gutter and spinning the chain and you have to watch out because it's going to hit everyone? It won't hit Rage because he's not affected by the friendly plays or character traits. That's awesome. There'll be some other negative ones coming up. Doesn't affect Rage. That's awesome. However, it also means that you can't do the good ones. So that means that if you do Commanding Aura or if you do Mark Target, sorry, those do not affect Rage because he ignores all those things. So sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse, but something to keep in mind here. He also has Berserk, so during an activation, if this model damages an enemy model with an attack, this model gains an additional attack without spending influence. This ability cannot generate any further attack from itself. And before we talk about that, he also has Furious, which is this model may charge without spending influence. So we talked about how he's only 1-1, but with 1 influence, he's making 4 attacks. He's going to get the charge for free, get 10 dice, do something awesome. As long as you did 1 damage, you get an extra attack. Attack again, do some damage. As long as you do something, you get another attack. And this is where he does a lot of work. Plus, if that wasn't enough, he also has Crucial Crucial Artery, which is enemy models suffer the bleed condition when damaged by this model. So if you didn't do enough damage with your 4 attacks, well, now they're bleeding as well. So very awesome. Sometimes it's worth it if you're in the middle, just going attack, 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 and making it so everyone's bleeding. But yeah, very powerful. Now, looking at his actual playbook, he has on 1 success a Momentous 1, on 2 success a Momentous 2, on 3 it's a knockdown or a tackle, so a little bit of utility there. On 4 he has Momentous 3, so that's pretty early to be getting 3 damage. On 5 he has a Momentous 2 Gill Ball to do his concussion, and if you get all the way to 6 you get 4 damage and also the double Gill Ball. So what I usually find is that you don't normally get to the higher stuff. Sure, you're going to go in there on your charge, and you're probably going to get off the Momentous 3 or something like that. And then after that, it's usually 2, 2, 2, 2, and then you're also bleeding. But yeah, Rage is going to do a lot of damage, and this is the reason why. I mean, stuff like Bag of Coffers can't go on him, because it would be just too good. Because that would be buying another attack. That means he's getting 6 attacks, and he's already doing so much work. So yeah, Rage, great model to have. The one weakness of Rage is that if the opponent knows how he works and engages him, then he can't charge. So one way you can get all of that is you can attack first, do some damage, then you get to Berserk, attack again, do a knockdown, and now that you're not engaged, you can charge something else. But again, just if somebody gets on this guy, and his threat's not super far, and you have no way of extending it, so it's a pretty known threat. So if somebody goes in there and they engage Rage, it really takes away his effectiveness, but otherwise, he's a great model to have. And if nothing else, even if people aren't walking into his range, just standing there and giving tooled up to somebody else is awesome. So Rage, really good model to have. I suppose the only reason why you wouldn't take Rage is if you're going more for a scoring list. But if you want any melee power whatsoever, Rage should probably be part of it. Alright, next one up is going to be Snakeskin. She has melee zone of 1. She is a movement 6-8, but that's going to be deceiving. Attack 5, kick is 3-6, defense 4, armor 0, influence 2-4. So seems a little bit low, but there'll be some bonuses to that. Character plays. First one will be Nimble. It's a cost 1, and it just gives +1 defense. So what she'll do is say, okay, I want to be defense 5. Done. So really nice thing to have that on a stick if you ever want it. Also has Clone. You can either do this on 2 influence or on 2 Gill Balls rather. Either one of those you can do. And it says the next time this model is hit by an enemy attack or character play that causes this model, or targets this model rather, except while advancing, the attack or character play is ignored. This model then makes a 2-inch dodge. This character play can only be used once per turn. And I find that this one I don't use as much. If you do have some extra influence, why not? Or if you're trying to guard the ball, or if you know there's going to be a big attack on you or a big character play, okay, sure, cast that. But otherwise, I find that it's normally best just to get extra attacks or have influence somewhere else. But hey, it's a very powerful character play that's nice to have on the card. She only has 12 boxes, so a little bit on the low side, so you do have to watch out for that. She will work for alchemists, fishermen, or masons. She has Venomous Strike, so here's a new one. And what this does is that any models suffer the poison condition when damaged by this model. So it's always fun to use her along with Rage. And you're like, poison, poison, bleed, bleed, and really start like stack these things up. Otherwise, she has Charmed Male. This model gains +1 defense against each attack or character play made against it by the named model type. So whenever a male is attacking you, you'll be defense 6, and if you have Nimble, you'll be defense 5, and if you have Nimble up, then you're a 6+. Or, sorry, let's just have a little drink here. I've been doing a lot of talking. This is a talking heavy thing. Or, if you use Blackheart's Legendary, they get +1 defense here. Yeah, If there's any males, it's just 6+ right away. And if it's a male and you have Nimble, it's a 6+ and they're -1 dice. So pretty powerful stuff. Otherwise, she has Shadow Leg. So that's that 2-inch dodge at the start of the activation. So really, she's at 8-10. So she's really fast. And so the nice thing I see about Snakeskin is that she's an interesting thing where she can do a little bit of damage. She has some very good scoring abilities because she is very fast and can dodge around a lot, and also can be a nice little kind of denial piece if you have a big huge enemy model that's going to be coming in and trying to beat you up and it's a male. Throw Snakeskin at them. You know, do Nimble, just put her in the way, and they're going to try and do a whole bunch of nothing against her. Now, for her actual playbook, on 1 success, it's 1 damage. On 2, it's 2 damage or a momentous tackle. So, again, for a scoring model, having an early momentous tackle is pretty awesome. On 3, she can do a tackle momentous dodge, or a momentous double guild ball, which is the clone. On 4 successes, that's going to be a momentous double dodge, and if she gets to 5, which doesn't happen very often, then she'll get up to 3 damage, non-momentous. So she can do a lot of damage. However, what you're going to find is if you're using her as a melee type thing, is that it's not like Decimate where it's going to be like damage, momentum. She can do a good amount of damage out there, but she is not going to be generating momentum. She's going to poison whenever she attacks, and that's awesome, but no extra momentum. So do really keep that in mind, that you do get that extra flexibility, but she doesn't always go and get that momentum. You can, right? If you are trying to tackle the ball, that's awesome. But again, if they don't have the ball, you can't use a tackle playbook. So those ones aren't really possible. So unless you're getting like 4 successes to do like a momentous double dodge, or if you do the 3 and do the momentous clone, which would be sure, why not? It can be kind of hard to get that momentum to go for a goal. But either way, she's an interesting model. I wouldn't say she's amazing, you have to buy her. I wouldn't say she's garbage. She's just one of those like middle of the pack, very interesting model, and depending on what you can do, or what you're planning to do rather, she might be actually a key piece to your plan if you got a specific thing for her. Next one coming up here, if this actually goes down, is going to be an interesting one, which is going to be now talking about Avarice and Greed. Now, we're going to start here with Avarice. Now, Avarice and Greed are interesting because there are 2 models. First of all, I should say that he's a bigger model. He's on the 40mm base. And Avarice is going to be a 4/7, so pretty slow unless you get him to sprint. Attack 6 is great. Kick 1/6, not great. Defense 3, armor 0 is definitely not good. Influence 1/3 sounds bad, but it's about to get better. Character plays is singled out, costs 1 guild ball, and it says friendly models gain +2 tack against target enemy model. So the nice thing about this is that it's a momentous guild ball on just 1 success, so it's really easy to get this off. If you just want to put 1 momentum on him, he can walk up, get singled out, and then this could be a great way to be enabling somebody else like Gutter to be having that extra tack to get the things off that you need. So very nice for a single influence type play. He has 20 boxes, which is great. He can work for all guilds, so if you play the game whatsoever, you can take Avarice and Greed. He has Tough Hide, so not only does he have 20 boxes, but enemy plays that cause damage to or playbook damage results that hit this model are reduced by 1 damage. So that's awesome. Not only does it make it so you're more survivable, but it's always hilarious when your opponent gets a result that does like 1 damage and maybe it's momentous or maybe it does something else, and it's like, no, sorry, it does 0, and that means you can't do it. So that can always be a little bit interesting there too, but this is where we get into their more interesting rule, which is Detach. So with Detach, during the maintenance phase before influence is generated, the named friendly model can be placed on the pitch in base contact with this model. So we're talking about Greed here. If this model, and Greed is a tiny little leprechaun that comes with him, if this model is in possession of the ball marker, it may give possession of the ball marker to the friendly named model. So, yeah, I did mention he has a 1-inch melee zone, and before we get into Greed, let's go over his playbook. For 1 success, he can either do 1 damage or that momentous guild ball. On 2, he has a knockdown or a momentous double push. On 3, he has either a tackle or 2 damage. 4 successes, either 3 damage or a momentous 2 double push. And if he gets all the way to 5, it'll be a momentous 3 double push. So he can actually get some pretty good work done. You know, he's tack 6. If he singles something out early, you can usually get to those higher ones. So yeah, you can only give him 3, not 4, but normally he can actually do an okay amount of damage. And plus with all these double pushes, if you really need to move models around, either closer so that somebody else can get to it, or pulling them away from cover, or whatever, it gives you a lot more of that control. Now let's go talk about Greed. So, like we said, Greed's going to start on the model, but you can kick him out if you want. He also has 1-inch melee zone. He's a movement 4-5. So even if you sprint, you're only going 5. So he's really slow with those stubby little legs. He's tack 5, kick 4-4. So that's, you know, really short range, but you're throwing 4 dice. So if he ever is in range a kick, it's going to be successful. Defense 5. Armor 0, influence 1-0. So at first when you looked at Avarisse and he was only that 1-3, you're like, oh, I'm going to take a hit on how much influence I get on my team. But once you have Greed out there too, you're going to get 2 influence. So just realize that by having these guys, you're going to be getting the full influence that you'd have from a regular average person, plus you get extra activation, and that's amazing. And we'll get to that in a second. He has 2 character plays, first one being Where'd They Go, so we know about that one with the 4-inch dodge. The other one is Rabid Animal. This is a 2 guild ball to get it off, and it says target enemy model suffers -4/-4 movement and the poison condition. To do this, he needs to have 8 successes. I didn't know why this is even on the card. Not only is it almost impossible to pull off, but it's also kind of useless, so I'm not really a fan. I mean, sure, why not? You need something on the card, but don't ever expect to ever be using that. Now, here's the worst thing about Greed. He has 4 boxes. That's it. He only has 4 boxes, so if anything gets the Greed, he's dead. That's one of the reasons why I find Rabid Animal being extra useless, because sure, you can get to something and say you can't get away, but they're definitely going to kill Greed. So it's a suicide play to slow somebody down. So unless it's a game-winning play that's almost impossible to pull off, it's just not going to get used. For his character traits, it talks about how he's benched, so just talking about how he doesn't start on the pitch. He has defensive support, so if he's within 4 inches of Avarisse, he gets +1 defense, meaning that he'd be 6+. That's kind of something that's kind of good, kind of bad. What I usually find is that I normally detach Greed right away, and then Greed hides at the back of the board, whereas Avarisse goes forward. So I don't normally see that where they are going to be super close, but where you have someone like Greed that you really need to protect, being defense 6+ is pretty awesome. Otherwise, he can go crazy. He can take 3 damage. Okay, once per activation, this model can suffer 3 damage to gain +3 tack for the remainder of the activation. So, that'll make him tack 8, which is really, really good. And that's why he has a playbook that goes up to 8, but he's going down to 1 box. So, it's pretty scary. Now, talking about his character plays, if he gets, or his playbook rather, if he gets 1 success, he can do 1 damage. On 2, he could do a momentous dodge. On 3, it's 2 damage. On 4, it's 3 damage. On 5, it's the single guild ball to do Where'd They Go. On 6, it's a momentous tackle. On 7, it's 4 damage. And on 8, it's the double momentous to do Rabid Animal. So, it's actually possible to make this guy do some really good work. You know, you can allocate this guy 4 influence. He goes up to tack 8, and yeah, let's say, for example, you put Tooled Up on him. It's not unheard of to make him get 4 successes out of 8, and it's just going to be 3 damage. Or sorry, no, 4 damage because of Tooled Up. 4 damage, 4 damage, 4 damage, or if you're also in range of something, say like of Commanding Aura, 5 damage, 5 damage, 5 damage. So he can get in there and he can take something out. Just know it's a suicide mission, because he'll go in there, take something out, and then he's probably going to die. So unless it's... What I find sometimes where this can come up is that if he's staying back by my flag and somebody comes in and gets a goal, you can have Greed in there with the 4 influence and saying, all right, come get a goal, but I'm going to take you out. However, he is slow, so it's hard to actually threaten when you're that slow. And then 2, sometimes they can just come in, take out Greed, and score a goal, and that's just double bad. So be very careful about ever wanting to try and do this melee combat type thing with him, melee, before somebody calls me on it. But just know it is an option. Another option you can do too is leaving him in Avarisse. Now, you're not going to be getting his influence if you do this, but what that means is that as you're going up there and you're fighting up the board, and eventually Avarisse gets the ball, if you know you're going first next turn and you're close to the goal, okay, Greed pops out, you get to give him the ball, and then you can walk up, and with a 4-4 kick, if you're in range, you know it's going in. So that's another possibility you could do as well. Again, I think that's very situational, and you're better off just having Greed leaving and staying at the back and giving you that extra influence, plus the extra activation. And the reason why the extra activation is so powerful is, as we've been seeing, there's a lot of synergy in the Union Guild. Plus you have things like Hemlock, who want to go last and do the curing and the clearing of conditions. And of course, in any game, having the last activation is very powerful, because you know that you're going to get the last activation and they can't counter you. So having something like this where you can be like, okay, I'm just down to my key activations, and whatever I do, it's going to be a turn too early. Oh, I got Greed. Leprechaun, walk 1 inch to the side. Okay, back to you. And it's a really good way of just buying a turn. Alright, next up is going to be Fangtooth. Fangtooth is also going to be on that 40mm base, so a little bit bigger of a guy. Only 1 inch melee. He's a move 4-6, so a little bit slow. Attack 5, kick 1-6, so he's not a score guy. Defense 2+, armor 1, so he's going to take a beating. He's going to take a lot of hits. Influence 1-3, so not as much influence as some other guys. He has 2 character plays. First one being Blood. That's on 1 guild ball, which is on 2 success, and it says target any model suffers a bleed condition. So why not? It's an early one. It's going to be pretty much 3 damage unless they clear it. Not a bad one to do. The next one is called the Unmasking. Now it's on 2 guild balls, which is on 4 successes, and it's a pulse 3. And it says all other models within the pulse, so friendly and enemy, suffer a 4-inch push directly away from this model and 3 damage. So this can be good for a couple of reasons. One, if you get into a bunch of enemy, you could pull this off and be like, boom, 3 damage to everybody. Almost something like you got with Gutter there. Again, if you ever did like Tooled Up, this would be +1 and doing 4 damage to everybody. Another thing you can do as well is that he has an early knockdown that we're going to be talking about. So he can go in there, knock something down, and then if you pull off this Unmasking later, you can push them away, meaning that you got to beat up on something and then they didn't really get to fight you back. So that can be a pretty nice thing to do if you can pull that off. Otherwise, you gotta watch out you don't blast your own guys with this ability. Talking about boxes, he has 29 boxes. He is a beefy guy with lots of boxes and can take a lot of punishment. So that 2-1 is kind of on the weak side, but wow, he has a lot of boxes, and he has Gluttonous Mass. Now what Gluttonous Mass does is the first time each turn this model is hit by an enemy attack or character play that targets this model, except while advancing, so not for parting blows, the attack or character play is ignored. And that's huge. You know, somebody charges into him and you're like, yeah, you hit me. Nothing happens. or if there's a very critical character play that they cast on you, saying like, okay, you have to activate in this order, or I'm going to do this debuff to you. No, that's just ignored. So that's huge. It's very, very huge to have that. By the way, he can be working for brewers, fishermen, or morticians. This has a foul odor. Now, this is one where you have to kind of also... It's good, but it also hurts you. So what this does here, it's a 3-inch aura, and it says other models within the aura treat open ground as rough ground. And so that's good in terms of that it's controlling your opponent. If your opponent is trying to get to Fangtooth, they have to realize they're going to lose 2 inches. If they're trying to sneak around Fangtooth, they have to realize they'll lose 2 inches. But your own guys are going to suffer the same thing. Now, we talked about how Rage isn't affected by friendly character plays and stuff. That'll be this here. So this here will not be affecting him. Rage can charge up from this. And so he's a really good buddy with Rage, where he can keep guys off of Rage so they can't really get to him to engage him. And then he can go out there and do his thing. So they're a nice little buddy, buddy cop movie type thing. But just know that measure those 3 inches and make sure your own guys aren't in that range. Some guys do have ways around it, say like with Blackheart or with Snakeskin having that 2-inch dodge at the start. They can get out of that zone, but otherwise they can be a really big problem. Otherwise, he actually has a heroic play, which is pretty awesome. So for 1 momentum, you can do the Fangtooth Unleashed. This is a 4-inch pulse, and what it says is, and this is very important, all friendly models within the pulse immediately suffer 5 damage. Do not do this when you're around your own guys. I've seen some people see this and think it's actually the enemy models because, of course, why would I be doing damage to my own friendly guys? Yeah, this is another time where you want to have nobody around you, because if you did this early, yeah, you're just going to crank all your guys. This will just kill Greed. If Greed is by you when you do this heroic play, he just dies. So be very careful with this. But what that also gives you is that this model gains +2/+2 movement. So all of a sudden, instead of being a 4/6, he's now a 6/8. Getting a little bit more respectable. And he gets +1 damage to character plays and to his playbook damage. So when you're looking to get in there and maybe do an unmasking, so all of a sudden now that could be going up to 5 damage to everybody. That'd be actually awesome. If you can get tooled up onto him and then going for this Unleashed, he can go in there, do the unmasking, do 5 damage to everybody. That'd be pretty awesome. But as well, if he's just going to go start punching, it can do some extra damage there too. So if nothing else, I find that I don't always use this, but it's a nice thing to have in. If I ever find out that I want to do a little bit more damage with him, or he has to go a little bit faster, hey, it's an option to use, but just make sure none of your guys are around him. For his playbook, he has on 1 success either 1 damage or a momentous knockdown, and that's awesome. Having it so that on 1 he can just knock somebody down is great. It also means that he's awesome for parting blows. Like, okay, you got the ball, I'm going to run up to you. Not only are you -2 speed, basically your movement to try and get away from me because of my odor, but yeah, when you take that parting blow, you're going to be knocked down because I should get at least 1 success and you're going to lose the ball. So that's really, really good. On 2 successes, you can either do 2 damage or a momentous 1 gill ball, which is the blood. On 3, it's a momentous 2 damage or a momentous 2 damage knockdown. Again, if they're already knocked down, that's why they need the other option. On 4, you can either do 3 damage or a momentous 2 gill ball, which is the unmasking. And if he gets all the way up to 5, it's either a tackle. So he's really not a tackle guy. It's almost kind of funny when they put tackles that later on, because like, come on, I dare you to try and get it. Or he can do 4 damage. So really, if he gets in there and he has some big stuff on him, like the Unleashed, or if he has tooled up, and if he can start getting to those higher ones, that's pretty awesome. He can do some really good damage. You can only give 3 influence to him, so that's a little bit of a problem, although Bag of Coffers can make that higher. But I usually find that Fangtooth isn't a guy that's really going in there to do anything. I usually find that Fangtooth is just somebody there to get in the way. Sometimes I'll give him one influence just to kind of run him up there, and he's really just a guy saying, come on, punch me. With the Gluttonous Mass, I'll ignore the first one. I got 29, and then if I ever want, later on I can use one momentum to momentously knock somebody down, and then I can use that momentum to heal myself. So he's a very durable guy. I mean, you look at him and he's a 2-1 for his defensive stats, which seems really bad, but between the Gluttonous Mass and all those boxes, he is really, really good. So, that's going to be done of all Season 1. So Season 1 had a lot of models. And that's another reason why I like Union. They have a lot of options compared to some other people. Some other people do not have that many options, and you almost going to feel bad for them, although they technically have more because they can also take us Union guys. But it's funny how many people don't want to take Union. I don't know why. It's almost like a purist thing. But anyway, let's get into Season 2. So first of all, for Season 2, there's Veteran Rage. So Rage all of a sudden is now going to be a captain. He has a 1-inch melee. He moves 5-7, tack 7, kick is 2-6, defense 4, armor 1. So pretty much the same as before, but he gained 1 armor and 1 tack. And now as a captain, his influence is a 3-4. So lower than what you'd expect from, say, like a regular captain, but we know he's going to get some extra bonuses. His character plays are kind of interesting. He has Red Fury, where for 1 cost he can do, it's a range 3, and it says target friendly model may make an immediate attack without spending influence. So that actually could be very good. You know, you got somebody like, let's say, Gutter, who you give 4 influence, and maybe with Bag of Coffers, you give a 5th one, she goes in and attack. Oh, that wasn't enough? Okay, Red Fury, Red Fury, Red Fury. This means you could be making 9 attacks with Gutter. Amazing, 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 very powerful, and, you know, not something to be ignored. You know, sometimes you just have that where you're going for a takeout or something, and you just come up short, and even if Rage can't get there to finish them off, he can cast that spell to finish them off. So, very, very nice. His next one is called Quick Time. It is a cost 2, range 4. Target friendly model may make a 2-inch dodge, and he can only do this once per turn. So it's really nice because if you need to extend somebody's threat or his own threat, or just kind of move things around, which we're going to kind of see there. Like, if something is close and I want to make an attack there, I can say, like, okay, first of all, Quick Time, get you over there, Red Fury, and I can just make you attack. So maybe Gutter can't get all the way in there, but okay, Gutter just runs or sprints all the way up that she can, and then on Rage's turn, you go and say, okay, Quick Time, get in there. Now you are going to attack. So again, a little bit more control of the battlefield. Last one is going to be here, Concussion. He has Concussion again, and just like we said before, very situational, but hey, something to remember you have there. He has 17 boxes, so the same as before. He has Furious, so again, can charge for free. He also has Usurper, or Usurper rather, against the Union. So this target model gains +1 tack when making an attack against models from the name guild. So if you ever face any enemy Union, and that doesn't mean you have to face Union as a guild, if they take, you know, Mist or somebody in their other faction, hey, when you're attacking them, you get +1 tack. So, nothing crazy, but hey, not bad either. Otherwise, he has Rising Anger, and what that says is the first time that this model is damaged by an enemy model each turn, the friendly team gains 2 momentum. So that can be really, really nice, but it's a little bit weird because what you kind of want to do is have it set up so that he is going to get damaged and then can use that momentum to do other things. But if you do that, he doesn't get a free charge. So what you really find that instead is that this is something where you want to go in, charge into something, do all your cool stuff, and say, yeah, you can attack Rage. Just realize that if you do 1 against me, I'm getting 2 momentum. And again, momentum can be huge because it might mean I go first later. So it's almost like a little bit of a defensive tech that he does have, just in a threat. He has both a heroic play and a legendary. Now, the heroic play is called Bloody Coin, so for 1 momentum, when making an attack against an enemy model that is engaged by 1 or more other friendly guild models, this model gains +1 attack and +1 damage to playbook damage results. So all of a sudden now, if you have somebody there that's already engaged, yeah, that attack of 7 goes up to attack of 8, and then you're also getting the +1 damage to all the playbooks as well. So we'll get to his playbook, but that's going to mean a lot of damage. And when we're talking about Union, where there's a lot of 2-inch reach, yeah, that means there'll be a lot of times where you are getting this Bloody Coin ability, and can be very nice to have. Now, the legendary is called My Gang. It's a 6-inch aura, and what it simply is that while within this aura, friendly models also gain Bloody Coin. So that's really, really cool. So that means you can charge in, you can do all these attacks, and this is another time too where that ability to do quick time can be huge. Where it's like, okay, I want to go in there and I'm going to really need this extra attack and this extra damage, but he's just not engaged. Hey, you, buddy, get in there, right? And that can be really, really huge. Or, again, if you're trying to really trigger somebody like Gutter or somebody else, you can go in there, get them in, pop your legendary so that they're being affected by Bloody Coin, and then start making them make attacks with that raid spell, the Red Fury. So, really, really interesting stuff you can do, but clearly it's meant to be so that everybody's fighting in a small area. That can have some negatives because, you know, if AoE start hitting you or if they start running around you, but once you start getting that thing rolling, it can be really, really powerful. Now, getting to his playbook, he has a lot of momentum and a lot of damage. On the very first one, he can do a tackle or a momentous 1. On the second one, it can be a momentous 2. On 3 successes, it's a momentous 2 push or also a knockdown. On 4, it's momentous 3. On 5, momentous 3 push. On the 6th one, that'll be a momentous 2 Guild Ball, which is the concussion. And then finally, if you get all the way to 7, that'll either be 4 damage or 3 damage and the concussion. And that's where I think sometimes you might do the concussion here, because, you know, if you have a choice of either doing the 4 or the 3 and you do a concussion, sometimes it'll be more worth it to take away that influence rather than doing 1 more damage. But yeah, as you can see there's a lot of damage. He gets to 2 very quick, he gets to 3 very quick, and if you are triggering that stuff there with the Bloody Coin or the legendary, all of a sudden, you know, on 1, that's getting 2, and it's really easy to get to 4, so he can be doing lots and lots of damage. And so even though he is only influence 3-4 with the free charge and all these damages and all the buffs, he can do a lot of damage. Now, I think one of the biggest negatives to Veteran Rage is that, 1, it means you can't take Blackheart, and Blackheart's amazing. He's a really good captain. And I mean, they do different things. I mean, Rage has a little bit more of control, and his buff is a little bit different compared to Commanding Aura. But, as well, by taking Veteran Rage, you can't take regular Rage. So it's kind of funny because you're building this list, you're like, we're going Rage, we're going to go and cut you up, but I can't take regular Rage. And, you know, Veteran Rage lost the bleed thing, the crucial artery ability, and so it's just one of those things where whenever you look at him, when you look at the fact that you're going to be losing Rage and not able to take Blackheart, it usually seems better just to take Blackheart and regular Rage, but he definitely is a different play style if you like that little bit more of control, or just that super spammy Gutter or somebody else is going to be doing the world of damage. Yeah, you can do stuff like that and you can get a lot of work out of them. Or maybe someone like we were talking about Fangtooth, right? Fangtooth doesn't have a lot of momentum but can actually do some pretty good damage. Well, with this, you can really pump that out. So there are some little more interesting synergies going to extreme with Veteran Rage, but I find a lot of times when I look at it, it's just not as good as the other one. But again, he's still good. I wouldn't say he's garbage. He's just not... It's just not really that super you definitely want him. Alright, then we have the second mascot, the Season 2 mascot. His name is Strongbox. He has a melee zone of 1. His movement is 3-5, so he's slow. He's tack 2, kick 2-4, so he's actually a better kicker than the snake. Defense 2, armor 2, and that's a kind of an interesting stat to have there. Armor 2 is always nice. Influence being 1-2, and his character play is confidence. So confidence is a cost 1, range 4, and what that says is that target friendly model can re-roll 1 or more dice during its next attack or character play during its activation. And that can be really, really good. If you're about to charge in with somebody and you're going to have a lot of dice, remember, you're not forced to re-roll everything. Let's say you go in there and you're charging with Veteran Rage. So Veteran Rage would normally have 7 dice. Let's say you have the gang thing going up, so he has 8 dice. The charge is making it 12 dice. You're rolling the hit, and if you miss even your average amount, right? So you miss 6 out of the 12, well, grab those 6 and re-roll them. So you can really get a lot of extra damage out of this, and it also really helps you where, you know, if you are looking at coin and saying that the bonus time will help you get things off, being able to re-roll is also another way. And of course it really depends whether you're throwing 1 dice or 10 and wherever in between you're trying to do, but it can be a very, very powerful ability. He has 10 boxes, so a little bit low, but he does have tough hide, so everything's going to do -1 damage. So first of all, when everybody attacks you, they're going to get an okay amount of hits because you're only defense 2, but then you're going to -2 dice, and whatever they get, you're going to -1 damage. So he's actually pretty survivable given that, and that he's a mascot. Now the other thing that he has here is Shelling Out. It's a 4-inch aura, and what it says is that friendly guild models gain +1 tack when making an attack against an enemy model that is within this aura. When a friendly model inflicts the taken out condition on an enemy model that is within this aura, the friendly team gains an additional, momentum. So normally whenever you get a takeout, you get 1 momentum. If you do this around him, you'll get 2 momentum. Plus, if you're around him, you're also going to get extra tack. So it's a little bit more of synergy again, a little bit more trying to force you into a bubble. His actual playbook, he only has 2 of them. First one is a knockdown, so that's going to be interesting. You know, Coin had a tackle right away. He's going to have a knockdown right away, so why not? Or he can do a momentous 1, and then if you get 2 successes, it's either 2 damage or a momentous tackle. So I think, first of all, he's also a larger model. He's on the 40mm base, but he's an interesting one. He can give you some very interesting buffs, whereas Coin was nice because he gets that extra influence and the extra bonus time. He can be in there and just give him like a latent ability to multiple guys, but it forces you to come together. So what you have to really ask yourself is, 1, are we going to force ourselves to come down together, or if we're wanting more of a longer threat? And 2, do I want to be allocating influence? Because when you do Coin's thing, he does it for free, right? You give him nothing, he's going to do bag of coffers. When you come here with Strongbox, okay, you could do your little bubble, but he's kind of slow, so if you really want him to go 5 inches, you're going to have to allocate 1 to him just to sprint, and if you ever want to do confidence, that's another one. So he's a little bit of an influence hog, so I think overall I like Coin better, but Strongbox isn't bad. Definitely when you look at some of the most maligned mascots like Salt from the Fisherman, this is not Strongbox. Strongbox does have a place and is more survivable. Just know that Coin is freaking amazing, so the bar is pretty high, so it's a little bit hard to compete with that. Alright, we are now on to our last one, and this is going to be Harry the Hat. He is going to have a 1-inch melee zone. He is going to be speed or movement 5-7, so attack is 4, which is low, but we'll get to that. Kick is a 2-6, so that's not that great. Defense is a 3-1, that's not that great. Influence 1-4. He has 2 character plays. The first one here is Goad. It's a cost 1, range 6, and what it says is while this model is on the pitch, the target enemy model can only move directly towards this model during its advance. This character play can only be used once per turn. So this can be very good. You can do, if somebody's about to go and do something very critical, like do a takeout somewhere or get a goal, you can say, no, 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 you come to me. Now that usually means that Harry's going to get attacked, but you can also use terrain to this as well. So if somebody's on the other side of an obstruction or something, you can say, come to me, but then they can't get you because the terrain's actually in the way. Or you can be using something like forest or something that, you know, they have to go directly towards you. So if they lose those 2 inches or maybe another 2 inches from Fangtooth or something, they can't even actually get to you. It is a short range, right? It only is 6 inches, but if you do work in enough debuffs in there, you can stop them from getting to you. But more often than not, you're going to be doing this so that they can't go somewhere else. Last one there is going to be Molotov. It's a cost 1, and then it's going to be 8. And the big thing here is that it's going to say the target enemy model suffers the burning condition. This character play can only be used once per turn. Now, the problem with both of these character plays is that, first of all, they're good because they only cost 1, but they're bad because they only cost 1. And since you're trying to do this to your opponent, that means you're going to have to roll in their defense, and rolling 1 dice makes it very unreliable. So you really are probably going to need a momentum to get bonus time to kind of ensure it a little bit, but just know that his stuff is a little bit more risky to pull off. Luckily, he has an answer for that. He does have 19 boxes, so even though the 3-1 defensive stats aren't that great, at least he has more boxes than average. He can be working for alchemists, brewers, butchers, or engineers, but he is also crazy. So that's the one we saw before on the Leprechaun, on Greed. So if he takes 3 damage, which isn't that big of a deal when you have 19, you get plus 3 tack. So all of a sudden that pathetic 4 tack becomes 7, and it's a lot more respectable. It's now over average. He also has Rising Anger, so that's the same thing where the first time he takes damage, the friendly team is going to gain 2 momentum. So that almost seems a way where he's supposed to work as well, where he's supposed to go up there, he goads something into me saying, hey, I know you want to do something cool, but you got to come into me, and then I'm going to be getting 2 momentum, which is awesome. Or you just throw him up there early, and then on your opponent's next turn, if they want to come in and attack him, well, that's great. Now you have momentum to do his other stuff, like he has a heroic play, which I love this one. It's an inspiring hat. It's a 3-inch aura, and what this one says here is that while within this aura, friendly models gain plus 1 tack. So, again, his crappy tack of 4 can now go up to 8 between going crazy and doing your crazy little hat thing for 1 momentum. So, you know, if your opponent comes into you and does some damage, you get 2 momentum, and you can use 1 to heal yourself, and the second one to do your heroic play, and all of a sudden now you can be a lot higher for what you can actually do for throwing dice. However, we're going to have a little bit of issue when we get to his playbook. So his playbook is 7 long, because that's where you can get to with crazy. On 1, you can do 1 damage. On 2, you can do a tackle. On 3, you can do a double push. On 4, you can get to 2. On 5, it's a momentous 2 double push. On 6, it's 3. And on 7, it's a momentous 3 double push. So what you're going to see there is that a lot of your results are much further down the table. So it's not like some of the other ones where you can get a 2 damage pretty early. He doesn't get to 2 damage until you get to 4 successes. And that can be pretty hard to pull off. You know, if you don't have a lot of buffs there, that can be hard to do. And even then, it's only 2 damage. Say like with a gutter. With gutter, if you can get 4 successes, you can swing that chain around. And you're going to do 3 damage to everyone. So really, when you look at this, it's kind of a disappointing playbook. You may want to actually use Harry the Hat more as a piece that you don't give influence to. He's a guy that's just going to walk up, take the charge. Like I said, use a momentum to heal yourself, use a momentum to put on that hat, and then other guys, be it, you know, Rage or Blackheart or Gutter, they're going to come in here now, and now not only are you going to get plus 1 tack from the hat that's on there, you're also going to get plus 1 tack because he's engaging them. So I can see a little bit of setup with that to make that happen. Or if they don't, you know, Goad is situationally good. Throwing that Molotov can be okay, you know, getting burn out there to kind of control some things. But again, you're going to need some momentum to get that going. So he's either going to be very draining to you to not get very much, or he's going to be a piece you just put up there to get attacked. And again, we saw that with some other ones, say like with Fangtooth, where he can really just take the punishment. Fangtooth can take it a lot more easier and will survive a lot more. But Harry the Hat will actually give you some bonuses for that, right? By able to do that hat and all that stuff. Overall, I would put him more on the bad side. Most people don't like running him. I often don't like using him. But he is something interesting. It is something different that you don't really have there. And again, if you are going for more of the veteran rage, where there's lots and lots of stuff you're bulking together, and you're going to be having veteran rage and Strongbox and Harry the Hat, and all of a sudden everything in this small area gets a whole bunch of extra attack, sure, that could be great. Or actually, if you're going with Blackheart as well, so he has commanding aura. All of a sudden now, everything in this little bubble is going to get +3 attack, and that can be very nice. So if you are trying to really push those extremes, he can be somebody that can help with that, but in general, that's really it. So there you go, guys. I know this is a very long review and a very long video. I didn't really expect to see how long this was going to take, but it is a lot of models. So please, please, if you are watching this, let me know what you think. Was the video way too long? I mean, I could break this up into multiple bits, but, you know, again, I'm just doing this to try and help you guys, and if you are interested in Guild Ball, here it is. I could do this for other guilds first, but I thought I'd start this here and see what the reaction is. So if you want more of it, make sure you let me know, and if you don't really care for it, it's too long, let me know too. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you later. Bye.